Why am I so excited for the new Crash Bandicoot and Spyro games? Because Universal was a terrible company and had no idea what they were doing. Let's talk about it.
No!
What's up guys, Canadian Guy here and back with a brand new video. So rumors and leaks continue as we hear more and more about the upcoming new Crash game, and I am already excited for both new Crash and Spyro games. But there is one thing about these new games that I am quite excited for. How can I be excited about something that I know nothing about? Well, there is one detail that we do know, one that is solid and factual, is that Activision will be leading the way of the development of this game. Now, before you go to the comment section and scream I'm an Activision shill, let me explain myself. Why is this exciting? It's actually not the fact that Activision is publishing the game, but better yet, it's who is not publishing the game. That is Universal Interactive. But why, you might ask? Why is that so important? Well, Universal were actually the publishers of the original Crash and Spyro trilogies. Now, this is where you facepalm and say that the original trilogies are considered to be the best of the franchises, so what am I talking about? So, sure, Universal Interactive was the publishers of the best Spyro and Crash games overall in the franchise. However, they also published the worst Crash and Spyro games in the franchise. Universal did something amazing and rare twice in a row. Universal had brought on Naughty Dog after being impressed by their first game, Way of the Warrior. Now, Naughty Dog wanted to make a platformer that was inspired by their favorites like Donkey Kong, Mario, and Sonic. This is when Willy the Wombat was born. Yep, Willy the Wombat. So, Naughty Dog continued development, and they were not a fan of the name and asked Universal if they could change it. Universal's ingenious marketing team came to them with two new names, Wazzle the Wombat and Ozzy the Otzel. Yeah, cause, you know, those names are quality. When the developers implemented crates into the game as a way to make the boring parts of the levels more fun and challenging, they decided on a different name. Crash Bandicoot. Universal did not want to call it that, however. So it literally took the entire team of Naughty Dog threatening to drop the project as a whole if Universal did not accept the name Crash Bandicoot. So they did. But this is only a taste of how Universal would usurp their stupidity in their games. So the first game releases and everything is great, right? Sure, everything is just fine. If you like crunch. No, not that crunch, I mean crunch time, where you basically are pushed to work the maximum legal hours and beyond, sometimes even unpaid, like 12-hour days with one day off kind of scheduling. It doesn't take a genius to know that Naughty Dog went through a crazy amount of stress through the development of the original trilogy and even CTR, because if you look at the release dates of Crash, the first one came out in 1996, then its sequel came in 1997, followed by the final game in the original trilogy in 1998. Oh, and the cherry on top, CTR came out in 1999. Now, picture this. Imagine having to develop a new game every year for 4 years. I can hear someone jump up and say, what about Skylanders? And yes, a game came out every year for that franchise. Except this case, there were multiple studios, like Vicarious Visions and Toys for Bob and even Beanox, who were working on the projects to alleviate the workload for all parties. Naughty Dog though? Nope, they did it all solo. Many events and issues were reported based on Universal's antics. One person went on to say that they were working on Crash 3 and during, of course, crunch time, Universal wouldn't pay for the air conditioning in the building for after hours, even though they forced them to work ridiculous hours in the nice, un-air conditioned, not hot at all Californian summer weather. I mean, come on! This led to Naughty Dog almost breaking their contract with Universal Interactive for their 4-game contract. So Sony had to negotiate between the companies, which allowed Naughty Dog to create a kart racer while Universal got their 4th Crash game. Now, over to Insomniac. There were not too many currently reported cases that were any different from the irregular horrid horror stories we already have heard, and soon they followed the path of Naughty Dog and left Universal in the dust. So Universal now has 2 legendary IPs that were created just for them, all on a silver platter and ready to go. All it would take is a competent developer and just let the franchises take off. Except they somehow screwed it all up. Badly. This is where Spyro Enter the Dragonfly makes its putrid entrance. Mac McMuscles recently did an awesome video called What Happened, talking about this project, and I'll put it in the description below. But to get a small snippet of an idea, Spyro Enter the Dragonfly would get approved by Universal, then weeks later they would come back to the developers with an entirely new script with an entirely new game. So things get cut, rearranged, didn't work, get scrapped, repitched, approved again, rewritten, more things got cut, and by the time the game was ready to release, it was just a Frankenstein mess of ideas that weren't even half-baked because Universal couldn't figure out what they wanted to develop for a new Spyro game. Universal also sent Crash off to become a Mario Party clone because they thought that's what Naughty Dog did with CTR and Mario Kart, even though CTR is much more nuanced and has originality, but Universal could not understand that. Even though they had two IPs that held such high status and caliber, Universal couldn't figure out how to be a publisher if it meant their life. It took years for Universal to actually figure out what they were doing, and even though they merged with Vivendi and became Vivendi Universal, they still struggled with figuring out how to make a decent Crash and Spyro game. And even in the case of Twinsanity, there was literally dozens upon dozens of gameplay hours cut from the game due to Universal's antics. Right as Universal started to figure out how to make a decent Crash and Spyro game, Activision bought out Vivendi Universal and they just fizzled the company out. The big takeaway from all this is that Universal somehow found not only one future AAA developer that would go on to make epics like The Last of Us, but two AAA developers back to back in their infancy. The developers made Universal look amazing, even though they treated them like dirt. When both companies walked away, Universal had shown its true colors and their lack of skill. Activision now owns the rights to both of the games, creating two remasters that has changed the remake industry to its core. That will hopefully light a way to a brilliant future for both Crash and Spyro. A huge thank you to all those who support the channel through Patreon and being a sponsor on the channel. If you'd like to help it out, check out the links in the description below, where you can buy some CGE merch or become a Patreon. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gaming and nostalgic content. Thank you so much everyone, and I'll see you guys in the next video.